away with it unless you think 7 games next to 6, 7 wins next to 6 is running away. Although in this division, a whole game, it's like, oh my God, who could ever overcome a game? No, I don't think. Let me look at their schedule. Because the Giants have gotten better and some of these teams gotten worse, you don't think of it as unwinnable. They're competitive games. But Arizona and Baltimore and Cleveland, those are tough games. If the Giants go 2-2 over the next 4, that gets them to 7 wins and probably wins the division. Washington's schedule's a little easier, not much. But I think Washington and the Giants are trending in the right direction, and the other two teams are trending in the wrong direction. And really, next year, to me, is the make or break as far as Gettleman's kind of overall vision for this team. And I made a lot of fun of Gettleman on the air. He took a running back, 2nd overall. Love me some Saquon Barkley. You are not supposed to do that. He reached for a quarterback, number 6. Heading into year 3, which would be next year, that guy has to be an above-average quarterback, right? If he is, Gettleman will look good and the Giants will be in a great position. If Daniel Jones is just average or a tick below average, then the whole 3 years is a bust. So that's where I am with the Giants. This year, they're probably going to win the worst division in football. It doesn't concern me. I'm looking to next year.
I think when you're as bad as the Giants have been and you see them go out and hire a coach who was not even a coordinator, and every single game they've gotten better. And every single game, they play harder and harder. And they don't have Saquon Barkley. They didn't have Odell Beckham Jr. anymore. There is no Eli Manning, and now you got Daniel Jones. And somehow, some way, devoid of experience, devoid of sensational athletic play, devoid of any kind of tradition to really, really lean on from the immediate past, and to go out there and to coach this team the way that he has, I can't say enough about the job that I think Joe Judge has done. I don't think the record is indicative of how good he's been as head coach of the New York Giants. If I'm a team that is struggling the way that they have been struggling in recent memory, okay, and I bring on a guy that comes from the Belichick tree, and I see a guy that has no coordinator's background whatsoever, and every single week they get better and better and better and play harder and harder and harder. And they're starting to win their share games. You got to tip your cap to this guy. This guy, Joe Judge, has been very impressive. Getting in an argument with his offensive line coach, getting rid of him, obviously getting somebody else in there and what have you, bringing somebody in at the time because you knew there were problems with your offensive line. He just seems to be pushing all the right buttons. He holds dudes accountable. Everybody's focused on doing their jobs. I think there's a lot to be excited about if you're a Giants fan by Joe Judge. I've been very impressed with what I've seen from him.
Yeah, like, isn't it too late in the season for the Giants to kind of like run away with the division? But let's look at who they are and what they are. And first start with Joe Judge. Is it Joe Judge everything to the New York Giants that the Detroit Lions start Matt Patricia would be?
Yes.
And what the Giants are showing you, the Mara family, and very much like the Rooney family, is when you get a dude in the office and it's time for the interview and he may not be the front runner, but you feel it, right? But you feel something about the person. You see that he's a leader of men. That dude can usually be a head coach. He can coach football. It doesn't mean he doesn't know the X's and O's, but it means that the X's and O's aren't the only reason that you want to hire this man. And that's what Joe Judge has been. And so now you look at guys like John Harbaugh, who was also a special teams coordinator, but who understood the pulse of a team. He understood how to motivate. And now Joe Judge has a team that has the one consistent trait in the NFC East that no other team has. They consistently compete. They consistently play hard. They're consistently about effort. And because of that, they've been in the last 7 games. They've had opportunities to win. And so when you look at going forward, all the little pieces Max said, like, those things are correct. But they have a huge piece of it in that they're going to play a certain way every day. They have a defense that is stout up front, that rushes the passer well, plays good on the back end, and you now have an offensive line that is creating runs and creating rushing yards with Wayne Gallman and Alfred Morris. That's a team that is building for the future. And so, though they may not run away with the NFC East this year, if Daniel Jones finishes or becomes the quarterback that DG thought he was when he drafted him 6th overall, this is the team that going forward in the future could be a contender in the NFC.
Yeah, I would just say that Washington also has been playing better and better, also with good culture from the top now with Ron Rivera. I do like they've been trending in the right direction, basically. And here's the other thing that I notice about Joe Judge. You know, when he started and he was doing all these things that seemed to be very hard on the players and coaches, that stuff almost always backfires with a rookie coach, right? Especially a dude who's jumped levels. But he got guys to buy in. And that means he believes that they believe he is putting them in a position to win. So they're willing to go the extra mile for him. That's great. Him, Flores in Miami, Vrabel, like suddenly the Belichick coaching tree, which had been a barren wasteland in the NFL, suddenly is bearing fruit.
But the other thing is, I don't mean to cut y'all off. The other thing is, think about that, though. Josh McDaniels doesn't necessarily do very well. Matt Patricia doesn't necessarily do very well. But when these guys were starting to be interviewed, everything was about the X's and O's. Think about it. It was about the way they called plays, the way that they coordinated defenses and offense. Flores, it was about the person. Joe Judge, it was about the person. Mike Vrabel, the same thing. It's not just because you coach under a guy and you can learn what he thinks about the football field. It's about what you can learn, how he thinks about football players. And I think those type of coaches are the more successful ones from the Belichick tree.
Mm-hmm. So far, so good. They got the Cards, Browns, and then Ravens coming up. So tough stretch. We'll see if they can keep it going. Let's get to Philly, though, guys. All right. One of the major stories of the day, of course, was that Hail Mary by the Jets. And now we have this breaking news into First Take. According to our Adam Schefter, the Jets have fired defensive coordinator Greg Williams. Again, defensive coordinator Greg Williams, obviously a veteran in the NFL, has been let go. On that note, we bring in Super Bowl champ Ryan Clark. And Ryan, I've been wanting to ask you this. What would you have done? Obviously, you're a defensive player. If that play was called, Ryan, that's never happened before, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah, it's never happened in that situation, but Greg has done similar things. And I think when your coach makes a call, you play it. Kind of like Marcus May said. I mean, if you're Lamar Jackson, you got to realize you're not as fast as the other Lamar Jackson. So you might want to back up a little bit and make them throw the ball in front of you, or at least give yourself a chance to run with Ruggs. But this is who Greg is. And Marcus May said it, like Greg was going to go down with his identity. He was going to go down with his personality. And when you look at the play right before, they were actually in zone, and Nelson Aguilar ran through it and got behind the safety in the corner. So I guess Greg was like, you know what, I'm going to go out being me. And shoot, now we know he really went out.
Well, I think the first order of business is, excuse me, I can get to Greg Williams in a second. It's something wrong with my eyes. That damn shirt you are wearing, Ryan Clark, Lord have mercy.
This is what
I had to check my eyes and make sure I was okay. Damn, it just blinded. That shirt making more news than Greg Williams. I'm just saying. But anyway, here's the deal. I'm just going to regurgitate what my original comments were, and that is this, man. I don't see this man. He's 62 years of age. A lot of people sometimes your retirement age is 65. Obviously, for certain situations, it's even longer. Shoot, if you're the Supreme Court, it's forever. But the bottom line is this. When you look at Greg Williams, I can't see him getting another job, not as a coordinator, not after this. When you consider the things that have been said, you got players calling you out. You've got yourself associated with some things in the past. You've got an ego. The bottom line is that, usually we just say an ego and we just brush it aside. But it appears as if the new guard has a real problem with the Greg Williams types of the world. And you haven't heard anything positive about him lately, and that's probably because he's associated with Adam Gase and the Jets. The only disappointment with Greg Williams being fired today is the fact that Adam Gase didn't go with him. As you know, Ryan, I never thought he deserved to be the coach. I was never high on him, and yes, that's a pun intended, because when I use the word high, I certainly don't mean just high as in height. I'm talking about high, like his opening press conference with the New York Jets. He was high, y'all. He looked high, okay? And he's coached like he's been high. Sam Darnold hasn't developed. The offense hasn't developed. The defense hasn't developed. The team hasn't developed. They're probably the worst franchise in all of football. And if they don't get rid of Adam Gase, I'm not sure the Trevor Lawrences of the world are going to want to come out of college to play if the Jets have the #1 overall pick. Because who would want to play for him in the New York Jets? They better change things up quick. They better not stop at Greg Williams.
Well, I'm glad, actually, Ryan, you're on this segment because I want to throw this past you or at you. First of all, Bountygate to me, I don't get it.